Hello everyone, Jarek Defiler the Patient Gamer here to bring you another video discussing something that I hold very close to my heart, video game soundtracks. But before we get started, be sure to take a gander at the very first video I ever uploaded to YouTube titled Highly Recommended Video Game Soundtracks. Check out the audio fix version as the sound quality is much better and the description has timestamps. Also, feel free to like, share, and subscribe if you'd be so kind. I'm trying to grow the channel and it would really help me out. Like the previously mentioned video, this will be of a similar format, meaning I designed them to be listened to rather than watched. So when you're in your car or at work, hopefully you'll give this a listen and get some information on some great soothing and relaxing video game soundtracks. If I can help you out in that regard, it would make me a happy gamer. So pop in those earbuds and turn up that volume knob as we dip into the realm of gaming music. Let's get started, shall we? Valheim. Developed by Iron Gate AB and published by Coffee Stain Publishing, who has built themselves quite the quality collection over the last few years, Valheim is an open-world crafting survival game set in the mythical Viking purgatory of the same name. Being a patient gamer, I rarely ever take part in early access titles. Valheim was one of the exceptions in the last few years, and although I gave it a thumbs down on Steam due to serious technical issues, it would be disingenuous for me to say it's not a good game. It is, but unfortunately Valheim suffers from Skyrim syndrome, where the full potential of it relies on the modding community, which has made some great quality of life additions for it. Valheim actually has the potential makings of a flawed but great game, just once it's out of early access and the performance issues are cleaned up. Still may be worth dipping into now if you're interested and are willing to mod, however. I have 200 hours in with no regrets, so the content is there. That said, what really stands out to me in Valheim is that of the music. Composed by one Patrick Jarlstam, and forgive me if I am undoubtedly mispronouncing names in this video, Valheim's soundtrack is an atmospheric pleasure ride that instills within you the calmness of a cool forest breeze, the gentle swaying of a grassy meadow, or sometimes the blood-pumping adrenaline of a mythical battle against trolls and swamp zombies. Valheim's soundtrack is expertly tailored to the game's themes and biomes. For instance, when working on your first little cabin in the Meadows, the soft violins, guitars, and piano make for a relaxing introduction into the game's world with my personal favorite track, The Meadows, A Place to Rest. When you eventually get your house built and are rummaging around your storage chests, the game blesses you with the calming ambience of home, a place to enjoy. I get Skyrim in vibes from that one. There's also the fascinating track that mixes both relaxing atmosphere with mysterious discoveries and that of the plains, Farmstead. But what if you're out in the wilderness, climbing up mountains or sailing across the sea? Well, the game has some nice exploratory tracks to assist you on your adventures, such as the Mountains High Territory. Or the awe-inspiring Out for a Sailing adventure when one takes to their longship. And then there's the battle tracks, such as Elder Awakens when you take on the big bad tree boss of the Black Forest. or the haunting track Modor Protects that joins the fearful frost dragon of the same name. As you can see, Valheim's soundtrack is a delightful treat to accompany you across its mysterious lands. Atmospheric, soothing, inspiring, and oftentimes eerie, Valheim's OST will undoubtedly thrust you into the immersion of a fantastical and unique world that will have you coming back for more. Give it a listen. Risk of Rain 2. Oh boy, here we go. Developed by Hopoo Games and published by Gearbox Publishing, Risk of Rain 2 is probably my favorite game to come out of 2020. Or 2022 when I bought it, considering that was the year they released the excellent Survivors of the Void DLC. A third-person action roguelike, Risk of Rain 2 is perhaps one of the most innovative and gamer-friendly games out there, meaning it's a game made by gamers for gamers. Check out my review on my channel for further details. I clocked over 200 hours in Risk of Rain 2 within a few months because I was instantly and pleasantly hooked. The aesthetics, the mechanics, and of course the music are simply top-notch indie development that should be praised to no end. So if you haven't already, do yourself a favor and give Risk of Rain 2 a shot. You won't be disappointed. All that said, the soundtrack is simply stellar. Highest grade, truly complex and atmospheric, it fits the game's themes and style perfectly and gets you pumped while simultaneously making you bob your head and feeling chill. Composed by Chris Christodoulou, Risk of Rain 2's soundtrack is one of the most unique and innovative OSTs I have ever had the pleasure to experience. With heavy use of guitar, synthesizers, and almost jazzy drums among other things, Christodoulou created something that you just won't hear in other games, or anywhere else for that matter. With tracks like Thermodynamic Equilibrium, you get this almost haunting sci-fi pulse of waves that just keep pushing you further and further into the fray. Things pick up a bit with some of the heavier tracks such as Antarctic Oscillation, which serves as good fuel for the fight. Then you have some completely out of this world tracks that might just blow you away when you contemplate that this was something that actually came out of the mind of another human being, such as Nocturnal Emission and the dehydration of Risk of Rain 2. But then there are some of the more calm and cool tracks like Disdrometer that find you bobbing your head as you pummel your way through alien robots. But Risk of Rain 2's soundtrack culminates into an atmospheric space traversing infusion with my favorite piece, The Rain formerly known as Purple. Just an all-around treat, that one. Chris Christodoulou seemed to be given free rein to experiment and just have fun with Risk of Rain 2's soundtrack, as it simply oozes innovation and creativity. I hope to hear more from Christodoulou in the future, and hope other game devs have the guts to experiment more with not only their music, but their game mechanics as well. Risk of Rain 2 can teach us all a thing. Or two. Hades. Ah yes, Hades. Product of the excellent indie developer studio Supergiant Games. Hades is a phenomenal hack-and-slash action roguelite that burst onto the scene back in 2020 and just completely took the gaming community by storm. Being Supergiant Games' top seller on Steam, as well as its highest rated with overwhelmingly positive reviews across the board, Hades has earned every single ounce of its praise through superb and fluid game mechanics, awesome art style, aesthetic and themes, top-notch voice acting, and yet another heavenly soundtrack from the great Darren Korb, who got an honorable mention in my last soundtrack video. I own all of the Supergiant Games soundtracks, all of which have been done by Darren Korb, and each one is unique and caters to each individual game's themes and styles, and not a single one disappoints. Therefore, Hades is no different. Starting from the main menu theme, No Escape. Ominous. Korb brings a lot of wonder and mystery to Hades via the music. Most of the tracks have a fairly consistent flow that always keeps the player engaged and pushing forward. They tend to be upbeat and steady with lots of varying instruments from drums, synthesizers, guitars, harps, violins, and more. The style is very in tune with Hades' theme in that they are fast-paced and full of action. Most tracks are a mix of adventurous tones with a transition into hard fight scenes, with the best examples being Scourge of the Furies and my personal favorite, Rage of the Myrmidons. Now, don't think that all the tracks are hard rockish in nature. There are quite a few pieces that soothe the players in times of calm. One such track is the orchestrated work On the Coast. But there are also some tracks with haunting vocals from Corb himself, as well as the talented Ashley Barrett. Among these are the chilling send-off Good Riddance, phenomenal in-credits track, In the Blood. The Hades soundtrack boasts a great deal of innovation and intrigue from an already great composer. The music will capture you in-game while you slaughter your way through hordes of mythical Greek creatures in order to fight your way out of Hades. Every beat of the drum, every strike of the violin string, and every strum of the guitar will forge your path onwards as you struggle to reach Earth's surface. All hail to Corb! The Mass Effect Trilogy. The Mass Effect Trilogy are my third favorite games of all time, and thus its soundtrack holds a special place in my heart. In this section, when I say Mass Effect, I'm referring to the trilogy in its entirety, so hopefully that will clear up any confusion. For those who haven't played, Mass Effect is one of the best sci-fi games ever made, BioWare at its peak. Now, the combat and mechanics weren't exactly top-notch, in fact it often left something to be desired, but what made Mass Effect great was the universe and its environments, as well as the characters and relationships you forge with them throughout the trilogy. And I'm not talking about just your squad mates. I'm talking your crew, NPCs on other planets or space stations, and even entire races or factions. It all culminates in this fantastic sci-fi opera that is one of the most immersive experiences a gamer could ever have, and the music is paramount in lending to this feeling of immersion. Smiles will erupt, laughs will bellow, and tears will drop as you make your way through the journeys of Commander Shepard. Now, the entire trilogy with all its DLCs was a massive project that held many different soundtracks. As a result, there are several composers that all did a phenomenal job. And again, apologies for undoubtedly butchering their names. Some of the more renowned artists we see here are video game composer veterans Jack Wall and Sam Hulick, with the iconic Clint Mansell of all people pitching in a track on the extended cut. The DLCs were done by Chris Velasco, Sasha Dikisian, and Chris Lennertz. Keep in mind, these were different projects done over the span of several years. But even so, they all hold the same spirit for a sci-fi space opera that just works when blended together despite the different styles. Not a single one of the soundtracks hinder the rest by standing out in a negative light. They all make up a fluid alliance that each complements the game in their own way. Truly masterful work here. And it all starts with the iconic Mass Effect 1 menu theme, Vigil. What a perfect way to start a great franchise. The elegant ambience of Vigil prepares you for this epic adventure of spacefaring wonders like no other track before. Mass Effect has quite a few of these gems that truly grasp the feeling of soaring past supernovas while heading to distant alien planets. Some of my favorite pieces emphasize just that, with tracks like Uncharted Worlds as well as its sister track, New Worlds. really give you that sci-fi vibe that make for some great fun while scanning planets or traversing the star systems. Then there's some more energetic tracks that get your blood flowing a bit, such as the Sam Hewlett classic Combat Simulator Tier 2. Final Combat by Chris Linnertz. Among these are some emotional pieces that really instill that sense of a grand epic story taking place, like the track Infiltration. And the piece Clint Mansell contributed, titled An End Once and For All. Then there's Jack Wall's classic emotional ride, The Final Reckoning. could go on as there is a plethora of great tracks to choose from. As you can see, Mass Effect's soundtrack really had some effort put into it, and you notice that respect for the material even more when you're actually playing the game. Jack Wall is my favorite composer in the series, as I've been a fan of his work since Jade Empire, but all the others did a great job as well. I always go back every now and then and give the Mass Effect OST a grateful listen. The Witcher 3. Some of you might have heard of a little old game called Witcher 3 by tiny Polish indie dev studio CD Projekt Red. Yeah, those guys. This tiny little hidden gem crept out onto the gaming market back in 2015, and it's just a shame that most people haven't really heard of it, because I think it's a pretty good game. Okay, all joking aside, we all know how amazing Witcher 3 is, and its music just adds to its greatness. Very unique and very Slavic/Polish, the Witcher 3 soundtrack boasts an iconic sound that takes you to a foreign realm of fantastical creatures and hot elves and sorceresses with their anti-aging powers of sexiness. Werewolves and wyverns, shapeshifters and drowners, The Witcher 3 is not a place for a soft soul, and its soundtrack warns of that in its mysterious and ominous tones. Composed by Marcin Polish name, and Mikołaj Stroński, the Witcher 3 soundtrack is one of the cleaner ones on this list in my opinion. What I mean by that is that it has a very solid sound that is consistent in its delivery and very much gets its message across, in that it is presenting you with something wondrous from Polish folklore. Truly a delightful treat. The album boasts a great deal of awesome, mainly female vocalists that add this captivating cultural quality to each track with their chants and trills. Two great examples are Silver for Monsters and Steel for Humans. Also great vocal tracks where I assume they are singing Polish, but really have no idea. These can be found in the Song of the Sword Dancer, Fields of Ard Skellig. Just absolutely beautiful pieces. The Witcher soundtrack doesn't shy away from violins or strings of any nature, as they are evident throughout the album and are better for it. There are also some cool pieces that makes great use of what I assume is a type of flute, most prominent in the track Kaer Morhen. You also have some great folky tracks that give a nice vibe of dancing around a caravan campfire during the night. But the Witcher 3 soundtrack isn't void of more powerful emotional pieces, such as The Trail. the epic track named after the game's hero, Geralt of Rivia. Oof, those get me every time. As you can hear, The Witcher 3 has a very prominent soundtrack that's noted to bring in people that would never even bother to listen to orchestrated works into its fold. I personally know of several people who have gained an interest in orchestrated music simply because they were fans of the game. Now they listen to all kinds of orchestrated music. We have The Witcher 3 and its awesome composers to thank for that, so here's to a great soundtrack from two great artists. Divinity Original Sin 2. My second favorite game of all time, and in my humble opinion, the best RPG I've ever played, Larian Studios' Divinity Original Sin 2 is truly one of the most unforgettable RPG experiences ever to be had. The combat and game mechanics are nearly flawless, the writing is the best I have ever seen in a video game as well as the voice acting, the characters are intoxicating, and the music is an eclectic bout of diverse themes and audio biomes that make one's soul ooze out of their ears and into their laps with how amazing it is. While playing the game, I often find myself just taking my hands off the mouse and keyboard, closing my eyes, and just sitting back while I let the music take me over. Truly an out-of-body experience with this one, and you'd be all the better to give it a listen to as well as play the game. Divinity Original Sin 2 is an experience that every RPG gamer must have at least once. Created by the amazing Bulgarian composer Borislav Slavov, Divinity Original Sin 2's soundtrack entirely encapsulates the atmosphere and immersion of Rivellon, the realm in which the Divinity series takes place. From the sunny streets of Arx to the dark and dirty caves of Driftwood, each track instills within the player the exact emotion necessary to get the game's message across, and it works masterfully. What I mostly love about Divinity's soundtrack is that it is fairly diverse. Although it has just one composer, Slavov knows what he's doing and is an expert on crafting each track around every given situation and environment in the game. The music is never overused or out of place, it always feels right and is paramount in eliciting emotions from the player. For instance, you have these moments where you might be in a lighthearted situation or even a silly fight, such as taking on puppets at a toy maker's shop in Arx, and suddenly the Queen's High Seas Beast theme starts playing. Cheerful little ditty when slaughtering a horde of source puppets, wouldn't you say? But then you may be walking out on a forest path and your eardrums are graced with the sounds of mysterious trails. Or you could be in the market shopping for new skill books while Rivellon gently plays in the background. But don't think Divinity Original Sin 2 is all unicorns and fairy tales. No, it has its dark side, best shown when walking the depths of a vault where you stumble upon thousands of leaky candles in a dark cavern, each representing the soul of an unfortunate, down-on-their-luck or ambitious individual desperate enough to make a pact with a powerful demon, accompanied by the haunting track, Los's Despair. Or when traversing a dark, ominous cave, the piercing wails of dungeon music lightly scratches your ears. There are also the dark tones of crazy troubled senses that may grace your every step while traversing a blood-soaked lab. But don't let those darker tracks get you down, because Divinity Original Sin 2 ends on an epic emotional note with the ending cinematic themes, Lady Vengeance, Final Departure, and Sins and Gods choir version. Not a bad send-off to an absolutely amazing journey that is Divinity Original Sin 2. Borislav Slavov did a phenomenal job here and deserves a tremendous amount of praise. I can't wait to hear his work on Larian Studios' current project, Baldur's Gate 3, so if you haven't played Divinity Original Sin 2, I couldn't recommend it more if you're a fan of RPGs, but also if you're a fan of great orchestrated music as well. Truly a breathtaking experience. World of Warcraft. Wow, lots to cover here. We've all heard of it, and we've all played it at some point or another in our gaming lives. I, for one, rather enjoyed World of Warcraft throughout its history, having played from vanilla up to Cataclysm and then coming back for a couple months during Battle for Azeroth to check things out. WoW holds a special place in my gaming crew's hearts because it was the first MMORPG we all got into, and it was great for us because over time it adapted to its player base and became far more casual friendly as the years went on. Many didn't like this change and preferred the hardcore grinding nature of WoW Vanilla, but for us who ended up going to college, working full-time jobs, getting married and having kids, and that couldn't focus as much time on the daily grind of WoW, it was a pleasant change to grant us the opportunity to progress in the game without having to pour insane amounts of hours into it. So I tend to defend WoW on that front. But that's not what this video is about. We're here to discuss music, and oh wow does World of Warcraft have some great music. I won't break down each individual expansion for time's sake, and I will be only covering a few tracks here that are among my favorite. Mainly those that span across WoW Vanilla, Burning Crusade, and Cataclysm. The music in World of Warcraft is vast, and so is its composer list. Among them are one of my personal favorites, Diablo 1 and 2's Matt Ullman, as well as Jason Hayes, Tracy Bush, Glenn Stafford, Derek Duke, Neil Acree, Russell Brower, and David Arkenstone. That's kind of WoWish name right there, Arkenstone. There's a ton more when it comes to all the expansions, but the tracks I'm focusing on mainly involve these fine artists. What better way to get started than the original vanilla title screen theme by Jason Hayes called Legends of Azeroth. boy does that bring back some memories. Nostalgia of the ages. As you can hear, WoW's music has always been very powerful and grandiose in its presentation. Right out of the gate, we have beautiful orchestrated works that give the player the feeling that they really are taking part in this grand war of nations and factions that spans across entire continents. Another great example of that is the Stormwind theme that we all heard and loved when approaching that big, illustrious stony city. Don't forget the emotionally charged track, Seasons of War. Really good stuff. Makes you want to don that armor and make your way to the front lines in order to fight for your people, be they human, dwarf, or some of the more tusked and bony persuasion. This is just in the vanilla soundtrack of WoW. There are also some more calm and laid-back pieces that I thoroughly enjoy. Take the ominous trappings of Stanglethorn Vale, where it gives you the feeling of being stalked by a jungle panther while tiptoeing your way through troll temples. Then you have the ambient presence of Dun Morogh, an exploratory piece that instills wonder and mystery within the player. That minuscule piano piece is perhaps my favorite moment in all of WoW's music, and it's only 5 seconds long. Just, delicioso. Vanilla WoW also sported a great deal of choir pieces accompanied by harps and violins that really envelop you in the realm of fantasy. Moonfall is one such piece that leaves you blanketed in a cool relaxation as you hunt boars and fight cave gnolls. The Burning Crusade expansion, my personal favorite in WoW's lifespan, boasts an equally impressive soundtrack with multiple pieces that overall have a fairly magical vibe of a mystic land filled with wizards and tomes of ancient forgotten knowledge. A good representation of this is that of the highbrow piece titled The Sindorai. Gotta love them cellos. And let's not forget about our beloved Matt Ullman and his work Outland Suite. But one of the most powerful tracks that really emits an aura of the Blood Elves is that named for their capital, Silvermoon City. And let's not forget the iconic track composed by Russell Brower and Derek Duke, with the amazing vocals performed by one Vanjie Gunn, titled Lament of the Highborn. Great stuff. And be sure to check out Vanjie Gunn's YouTube channel because she has some really cool performances on there. But it doesn't end there, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on to Cataclysm, we have a shift in tone from the Burning Crusade. Cataclysm is a bit more unique with a, questing nature to it. To me, the theme of Cataclysm's music feels to be one of exploring and wonder rather than just magic and power like in Burning Crusade. It's like it's accompanying you on your travels, side by side as you make your way through a broken land. Whereas Burning Crusade's soundtrack feels more like a warning of what could go wrong with power unhindered. Both are excellent, mind you, just different. For instance, in Cataclysm, we hear a lot more from David Arkenstone, whose work in WoW tends to be a bit more mellow and smooth, almost mystic or shamanistic in nature, such as the tracks Call of the Elements, and Guardians of Nordrassil. We also have the very chill and soothing piece by Derek Duke called Castaways. Very much an exploratory track. Then there's the work by Glenn Stafford that really fits into that theme of wonder and mystique, titled Tempest's Wake. And one cannot discuss Cataclysm's soundtrack without mentioning another iconic track from the great Neil Acree, with vocals by Lorianne House, called Night Song. Truly a unique piece if I've ever heard one. As you can hear, World of Warcraft's expansive soundtrack hosts a diverse and eclectic variety of songs with some of the best composers in the business. They never fail to integrate with the game's themes and atmosphere, and I find myself listening to them a great deal while working or reading. Check it out. So there you have it, some absolutely stunning soundtracks for you to wet your whistle with. I hope you get as much enjoyment out of this awesome music as I have over the years. Even if you don't care to play the games, the music is still worth delving into as it has the power to calm the mind, soothe the nerves, and pluck those heartstrings. And again, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out my first video ever made, Highly Recommended Video Game Soundtracks, with the audio fix, cause I'm a noob and I didn't know how to properly adjust volume settings, kinda like now. Anyways, hopefully you'll enjoy those soundtracks as well, as they are among my favorites. I'm also going to add a few honorable mentions here for you to check out. And what are your guys' favorite soundtracks, film or video games? Let me know in the comments, as I'm always looking for new ones. Thanks for listening and or watching, and please like, share, and subscribe if you would be so kind. And as always, my gaming friends, you have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night depending on where you are. This has been Jarek Defiler, basking in the glory that is video game soundtracks. And I want you all to do a favor for me. Have a great week.